Senator Mitch McConnell with some striking comments yesterday directed right at President Trump. Let's take a listen to that.
The last time the Senate convened, we had just reclaimed the Capitol from violent criminals who tried to stop Congress from doing our duty. The mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the president and other powerful people. And they tried to use fear and violence to stop a specific proceeding of the first branch of the federal government, which they did not like.
Interesting words. So here to discuss, Michael Starr Hopkins. He's Democratic strategist, founding partner of Northern Star Strategies, and Marshall Kosloff, co-host of the Realignment podcast, two great friends of the show. Michael, let me start with you. This is really interesting because it seems there could be an increasing appetite for impeachment on Capitol Hill amongst Republicans. My question is do you want, as a Democrat, do you want to see an impeachment trial which could take, up to a month in the U.S. Senate, which could possibly hold up the Biden administration priorities around economic stimulus? He wants to send immigration. He wants to get many of his nominees to be confirmed, at least in the next couple of days. How are you thinking about the process around all of that as now Trump has officially left the Oval Office while we're speaking?
So I don't think Democrats want to see an impeachment trial in the Senate, but I think we have to. Donald Trump's actions and the events of January 6th have put the country in a position where there has to be accountability, because what happened can never happen again. It was such a serious offense that I think that we not only have to hold him accountable, but make sure that he never holds office again. So the Senate's going to have to figure out how to walk and chew gum. They're going to have to figure out how to pass legislation and improve President-elect Biden's administration, while also holding the president and the people who so thoroughly wronged the country accountable.
Yeah. Marshall, what do you think are the odds that they can actually get enough Republican votes together to convict in the Senate? And what do you think Mitch McConnell is? Look, this is not a stupid man, Mitch McConnell. He's very strategic, very tactically smart, knows what he's doing. What do you think he's playing at here?
Yeah, it's complicated. And look, Trump has not done himself any favors in the past few days in terms of pushing down those number of Republicans who are increasingly open to impeachment. As I was watching that clip, I sort of thought, back in ancient Roman history, they would have this: whenever a general would win a great battle, he would march through Rome, and he would chariot through Rome, and they would actually have someone whispering in your ear, "You're not mortal," to tamp down one's arrogance. If during Trump's presidency, if you could have had someone whisper, "Mr. President, be normal. Mr. President, be normal," consistently, that would have actually been something that would have saved all these things. Skipping the inauguration, offering these terrible pardons that we talked about last night. There's been this consistent acts that have consistently happened, they just haven't been normal. And it's been pretty clear that the one thing a vast majority of Americans agree on, Democrat and Republicans, is that they're exhausted from this period. So the question moving forward is this repudiation that we're seeing right now enough to satisfy that moment? I get your point, Michael, but I would just be incredibly skeptical that the Senate can walk and chew gum at the same time. And if I were Joe Biden, I would be thinking less about big historical narratives about repudiation and impeachment and making these matter, and thinking, look, if I want my president to be successful, vaccines, stimulus, checks. That's basically all that's going to matter right now. And if you could do those things, you could pursue your bigger agenda. But I just don't see a world where this brief moment where everyone is sick as Trump doesn't translate into a renewal of hyperpartisanship that wouldn't help Biden's agenda.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Michael, we've had a lot of discussion here on the show around hyperpartisanship, and there are two strains of thought. One is that the Republicans are always going to be Republicans, obstructionists. I think that is largely true. But on the margins, Biden could be facing a situation here. He could get some Republican votes. Marco Rubio said the very first thing he should do is pass $2,000 checks. You get at least 7 Republican votes for such a move. But here's the question. If you go down the impeachment train, if you go down towards hyperpartisanship, you could face a situation where it's 0. Do you think that that's worth it, given everything that we're going through right now?
I actually think Republicans have more of an issue when it comes to the vote for impeachment. Republicans are kind of having a moment of reckoning. Trump could potentially take 20 to 25% of the party with him when he leaves. There are already rumors of Trump and Bannon starting this Patriot Party. And Republicans should be worried about that, because a fractured Republican Party is a party that won't be able to really govern and won't be able to be a national party. And so I think the big worry right now should be whether or not Republicans who take the vote to convict Trump will then no longer be part of that Trump base. So Democrats certainly have issues to worry about in terms of impeachment and in terms of keeping on message. But I think for this issue specifically, this is really a crisis for Republicans.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, Marshall, I disagree with your assessment in that I think it's really important. I don't actually care that much about how it happens, whether it's through impeachment or 14th Amendment or what. But I actually think it is really significant and important that Trump be banned from running for office again in 2024. But speak to this piece of the floating of the third party, the Patriot Party, and kind of what the future looks like for Republicans. Do you think that the coalition can hold together? Do you think that Mitch McConnell's actions over the next, few weeks, whether he and other Republicans vote to convict, do you think that helps keep the coalition together? Do you think Trump is serious about this potential third party, Patriot Party thing that he's apparently floating?
Yeah, so on the immediate point about impeachment, before I do the Patriot Party point, as I'm thinking about this, impeachment is, once again, banning someone from office is separate from larger crimes, one of the most serious acts we can do in American politics. And if there is a broad majority in favor of that at the Senate and, these representational bodies, that's obviously something that we should go forth. I'm just concerned that this is coming through as a squeaky, brief, hyper-partisan moment, but that's going to sink the entire agenda. And frankly, I just care more about checks, and I care more about actually making sure the vaccine is distributed properly than I care about making a narrow partisan victory. If it's 2/3, that's an entirely different context, and I just don't quite see those 2/3 numbers. But to the broader point about a breakaway party, look, people have talked about how this era is very reminiscent of the 1910s. Basically, it's the progressive era. There's all these disputations of different ideologies and everything like that. That would be a 1912 moment. You would see a possibility of President Trump and Bannon splitting off from the Republican Party the same way Teddy Roosevelt split off from the Republican Party with his Bull Moose Party over debates about progressivism. So what you're going to see, though, is basically the same scenario, in the sense that President Trump does not have a majority of the country, and he does not have a clear majority of the Republican Party, especially 4 years from now. So if you want to have a second Biden administration, if you want to have a Kamala Harris, a Pete Buttigieg administration, you should be hoping and praying for a Patriot Party. And let's be frank, there's no way that doesn't end in grift anyways.
Well said, guys. Yeah, you can see Michael, he's already there. All right, guys, we really appreciate you joining us on this historic day and appreciate your analysis. We'll see you all soon.
Take care, stay safe.
We'll have more Rising for everybody right after this.